Hello everyone, and welcome to the Adam Josh Oral Brog number 35. This one is titled Helium 3 Mining the Moon. Got some good articles up on AdamJosh.com, and we'll get into this one in just a second. I got a new special guest area on the website. If you go to AdamJosh.com, it will be under the section special guest, and what you can find there are entries. Let's do that right now. AdamJosh.com, and what you can find there are entries that have been submitted to me by whoever wants to submit entries. And all I ask is that you include your, as you can see, we're stuck, as you can see right here. So we have 3 entries so far on the website. Whoever wants to submit the entries to me can just email to specialguest@adamjosh.com, and the contact information is also for that email is under the contact section on the website. And I encourage anybody who is looking for a place to put their ideas on in cyberspace, and maybe you don't want to get a WordPress page, or maybe you don't want to get your own website. Maybe you just feel like, maybe you're a regular reader to the website, and maybe you feel like commenting. Maybe you feel like writing an article that will be seen on AdamJosh.com. So anyway, I would encourage anybody interested to email specialguest@AdamJosh.com and include any JPEGs and links to that. One that I got from Fiona Weaver called CW's is the New Spanking was really interesting to me.
Do you have anything strong to take out the salt from the rim?
Just acid. Just acid.
Which do you have?
Yeah.
What you eating, man?
Nothing.
Nice smell too.
It's the mustard leaf and spinach.
Oh, that is very nice, man.
This is strong though. Acid mixed with comfort.
Okay.
So
I will give you back.
if it doesn't work, I don't know what will.
Okay.
Just stand it right here.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, no problem. And I told myself that when it comes to the AJOBs, I wouldn't edit them. So I used to spend hours editing. I had a lunch show called Lunchtime with Adam, and I did that through 2006 and 7. And so, you know, how long do you get for lunch? 10, 20 minutes, 30 minutes, whatever. So I'd eat lunch and talk about my day, and I have some food right there off camera, and I thought about doing the same thing. You know, but I've already eaten it. So, you know, you have lunch, and then I spent like 4 or 5 hours editing. You know, I would talk about things and I'd put in pictures and video, and that can be time consuming. So I told myself after episode 75, I can't do this anymore. So I went for 100 episodes with the Lunchtime with Adam show, which can be found on Google. It's really not, I mean, it's moderately interesting to me because I've documented a big chunk of my life there, 100 lunches, so you can figure out how many days that would be. But I did it over the course of a year and a bit, and it can just get too much when it can get irritating when you're editing that much instead of doing other things. So I told myself with the AJOB that I wouldn't edit as much. So what you're seeing is what you get. And where were we? I was talking about Fiona's CW's The New Spanking, and what I like in her article is that she writes that basically we don't spank our kids anymore. We taser them, or we call the police, and the police taser them, and that's okay. But spanking isn't. And I mean, you can look at all this 6-year-old girl that was groped by the TSA. There's videos like that on YouTube, and it's in the news right now. And an 8-year-old boy. And people have to get to the point as a whole where we all say no. And until then, the TSA will just keep going, pushing further and further to break your will to see how far you'll go, like dog training, you know. So I really like her article. And as far as me, when I go to the airports, last time I was there, I was going to Texas earlier in January, February, and so you know, I just refuse to go through the body scanners. So that's me. So luckily and fortunately, and thank God, so far I haven't had to go through a body scanner, or I haven't even been. I've seen them. There was somebody right in front of me that had to go through it, but I didn't have to go. And they kind of just closed it as soon as it got to me. And every time I've just been in a situation like that where it's either not working, it's down, the technician is out. And so I've been very fortunate. But if it comes down to it, I'm just, you know, I'm not going to do it. Maybe when I'm like 80 or 90 years old, and I think, well, I only probably got about 20 years left of life anyway, or 10 years of life. But even then, I probably still won't, you know, de-scramble your DNA and whatnot. So here we are, Helium-3, mining the moon. And it's always cool to talk about articles that get you a little bit off of this terrestrial mindedness. So let's get right to it. Helium-3, mining the moon. It's not a madman's dream to go to the moon and access its resources. We've been there, we know how to do it, we can estimate the cost. That's not a madman's dream. Harrison Schmitt, former NASA astronaut, and I give a link on the article to his Wikipedia page, and you can vet and check the information yourself. Alright, I love space. I always have. I love the stars, I love looking up at them, I love learning about the planets, and I love the idea of getting off this one. I've kept moderate tabs on space exploration for years, and now I'm finding a new thing to keep tabs on: space exploitation. For those of you who are new to the subject, it may seem like science fiction or pure fantasy, but I can guarantee you it is not. Let's look at some videos together. This is a minute-long trailer for a new video game called Helium-3, Mining the Moon. Far-fetched, right? About as far-fetched as any first-person shooter game out there right now. Here's why Helium-3 is important. Because people will see the trailer of this video game, Helium-3 Mining the Moon, and it sort of has the premise like Avatar. Like, we're going to a distant planet to mine for something that's valuable. And so there's two movies now that come to my mind. There's a movie called Moon with Kevin Spacey as the voice for the robot, just Moon. And there's also Avatar, and both of them have the same premise. And I don't know, maybe that's sort of conditioning the human. Maybe it's the human mind, the average human mind. Maybe it's not. But I can tell you flat out that the movie Moon, its premise is we're mining the moon for, I forgot what exactly it might be, but some sort of mineral that's valuable on Earth. Avatar, you remember that the premise is that. So they made this video game about, the premise is you have to go to the moon to mine Helium-3. And, you know, watching that you might think, oh, that's crazy, that's just a premise. But then you look at first-person shooter games like Black Ops or any of those Call of Duty type video games, and you see previews for that, oh, that's not far-fetched, because, you know, we actually have soldiers in foreign countries, you know, completing missions and killing people. But when you see something like mining the moon, you're like, oh, okay, yeah, that's far-fetched. And my point is that it's not far-fetched, that it's already happening. And then I link two videos that show scientists discussing why Helium-3 is important. Which is, the summation of it is basically when they heat up Helium-3 atoms to the point where they join together, energy is released, enough that a small amount could power the whole planet for hundreds of years. and it's worth it because it's clean energy in that sense. I wrote in a previous blog, Lear, how John Lear, yes, that Lear, has put forth compelling evidence that the moon is already being mined. Clicking the link I gave for the website Universal Mineral Lease's Registry, it seems they have mysteriously moved their domain, and all we're left with is a generic ad page now. Go figure. I checked it this morning, actually, and it's still down. Like, they switched it to it's just a generic ad page. We can both do this together if you want. Check this out. We'll do it right here. Yeah, so this is what you see now. When you go to Universal Mineral Leases Registry, you just see a generic parked web ad page. So there was a website there for I don't know how long, I'm assuming years, and now there's nothing. They've moved it because enough people have started noticing it, as you can imagine. So, and there's these three guys, Resnick, O'Neill, and some other guy, I can't remember all the names, but they have claim the mineral rights for the moon, and you think that's crazy, and not just the moon, but other planets too. I guess you have to assume, well, somebody's got to. When you go into the moon, or you're going into space and considering mineral rights and ownership, somebody's got to take it, right? So these guys could kind of jump to the forefront. So go figure. Here's the old cached page. Here's other people talking about the website before it was taken down. No matter. Several others, including myself, have video logged information on it, and the three men who hold the mineral rights for the moon right now. Click here for John Lear's rundown on who owns the moon while it's still online, and I give a link for that. Anyway, if you believe that they aren't already mining the moon, you probably also believe there were WMDs in Iraq, or that a kinetic military action isn't war. Or that if the government says we don't have ground troops in Libya, then we probably don't. Men in caves, armed with box cutters, masterminded 9/11. Lee Harvey Oswald killed John F. Kennedy Jr. There isn't Nazi-invented fluoride in your tap water, and the Rothschilds didn't fund Hitler. The Queen is just ceremonial and doesn't actually own Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and the British colonies. Your government always tells the truth. Just ask them. They'll tell you. I could go on and on, but those of you who won't believe that the moon is already being mined probably wouldn't believe that you have 2 hands, 2 eyes, 2 legs, unless the government told you did. So if you've made it this far without your eyes glazing over, check out Skunkworks Technology, Where Are We Really? And while you're at it, just for fun, check out the website whoownstheworld.com. Some interesting stuff. There's some neat photos that you can find online. You can just type in on Google moon mining or mining the moon, and there's some neat photos you can find of gigantic towers and cranes on the moon before NASA got prolific with their airbrush before the 60s. Sorry, before the 60s and 70s. Like all the photos, all the main photos that you'll see right now from the Hubble telescope and from the major telescopes, those pictures are all copywritten and known by various people. And the ones that you can get from, say, an independent source with like a 10-inch telescope, those would be a little bit more verifiable than the ones that you'd be able to get from NASA. NASA's been, of course, just totally caught red-handed. They'll blur out, what do you call that? They'll block out the stars. They'll erase everything, so they'll scrub out the stars or scrub out the everything, so people don't zoom in on it and see anomalous things like flying discs in the air, or crazy things like bases on the moon and cranes on the moon. And I've seen a lot of these photos myself, and I got to the point where I'm thinking, with everything that I encounter as far as new information goes, I usually ask myself, does it surprise me? Does it affect my life either way? if there's somebody in a secret space program mining on the moon right now, does it really affect your life? I mean, it doesn't in the sense that, yes, you've always known that the government sort of lies to you and doesn't tell the truth, and why would they tell the truth on this point? And NASA, the whole space program, the ISS and the shuttle, this is all not so much a distraction as it is it is a distraction, but it's also, you know, to show the world this is how far we've come, because everybody kind of agrees the world over that that's what we can do, so that's what we'll say is possible. But you won't see anti-gravity discussed anymore in magazines about, like, aviation. I used to collect cards, like reconnaissance cards and different military and other flight cards that would detail all the information on the various planes in the military, and like the F-15, the F-16, and the MiG, and all sorts of different planes. And nowadays, as I documented in Skunkworks, you can see, I think it's the F-15 vertical takeoff, but still they're not using anti-gravity technology. They're using you know, jet engine propelled thrust. Sorry, it's an F-35 JSF vertical takeoff. And you know, watching that, you're like, wow, that's ahead of its time. But the Nazis had flying discs, man-made flying discs. One was called the Hanabu. They had that back in anti-gravity flying discs back in the 40s and 50s, and you can look that up on Google Images. The United States Air Force had flying discs back in the 50s and 60s and 70s, and they've perfected anti-gravity by now to the point where they've classified it. They don't want anybody else to know about it. And so, in an anti-gravity flying disc, how long do you think it would take to get to the moon? Probably an hour or two, you know? It wouldn't take these days that it would take of propulsion and jet fuel burning. So, it's possible, and as the astronaut Harrison Schmitt says, it's not a madman's dream to go to the moon and access its resources. We've been there, we know how to do it, we can estimate the cost. That's not a madman's dream. And if he can't, you know, I can't say better than he can. So, as far as everything else goes, check out the website, the special guest features, special guest entries. If you want to send me an entry or a blog or whatever, email to specialguest@adamjosh.com, and if we like what we see, then we will have it posted and send you a link, and it will be on the website. Anything else I can tell you right now? Yeah, what's going on with kids these days? It's just in the United States a lot specifically. I was thinking with the 6-year-old groped down and the 8-year-old, and this story that came out of Detroit that you can go online and check the news for. But basically, the school system, a privately schooled girl, homeschooled girl, goes to a public school, wants to make friends. The public school says, sorry, we have to you know, get you up to date on your shots, and she has an adverse reaction to the shots because vaccines on a lot of people, they'll induce some sort of chemical reaction, because it's not like a cookie cutter. Cookies are good for everybody. No, some people have nut allergies, some people, you know, and doctors don't test these sort of things on most part. They just say, okay, this vaccine is good for you because GlaxoSmithKline says it's good for you, Big Pharma says it's good for you, so here, take this, and if it kills you deader than a hammer, then we're sorry. And, you know, if it makes you sterile, then we're sorry. So anyway, this girl gets a vaccine, she starts, you know, freaking out, has, like, anger problems, headaches, so the government comes in and says, okay, she needs to be medicated on this FDA unapproved psychotropic drug, and the mom says no. And then they literally have a tank and a SWAT team at her house, because they reportedly say that you know, she fired off a handgun in her house, just like you know, when you're arrested, if the police don't want to be caught, they'll say, oh, we found these drugs on this man, or this man was intoxicated, and you try to argue with them, and they're like, well, we say that you were intoxicated and you don't, so we win and you don't. So I mean, they say that that she shot a gun in her home, and then that's even up for debate now. But what they're trying to tell you, and then there's a story out of Chicago that the parents can't pack a lunch for their school children. They're trying to tell you that there is no such thing as parents anymore, that the children belong to the state, that the state is God. So anyway, these are all crazy stories you can check out for yourself. Tell your friends to get a job.